Good afternoon. Today I'd like to talk to you about my research topic of choice, game theory and nuclear strategy, developing an abstract model for evaluating risk of thermonuclear war, specifically the risk involved in two adversarial nations and a possible nuclear confrontation collide. Here's a quote from JFK just following the Cuban Missile Crisis. Above all, while defending our own vital interests, nuclear powers must avert confrontations that force an adversary to choose between humiliating retreat and nuclear war. This feels very relevant as ever when considering the shifting rules of the game required to maintain a structured balance in a complex geopolitical system. Much of war theory is founded in economics, actually, and bargaining. Wars generally start when bargaining over a piece of land breaks down. So to use game theory, we need to understand the probability of the outcome being maximized, and it really serves as a mathematical foundation to predict what the interactions between the actors may look like if placed in a common environment. The book on the left is really the foundational book for the entire discipline of game theory. Von Neumann and Morgenstern worked on this through the 40s and 50s throughout the Cold War, contributing the concept of mutually assured destruction, which proposes a strategy of non-use of nuclear weapons due to fear of retaliation. The thought that similarly ranked adversaries would choose not to strike, even if they can strike first. It almost assures destruction of their own country. So it's like dropping a bomb on yourself. Now, it's interesting when asymmetry is introduced, we start to think about the goals of the regimes to stay in power instead, and other factors like deliberate first strike strategies. I'm concerned with finding relative probabilities between scenarios and types of adversaries, and here's just some reasons why using history is just not a good barometer of what the future probabilities and risks might look like. And really the reason why we're interested in risk is so we can help policymakers decide how to prioritize resources and which policies are going to be the most effective given a certain parameter set. Should we be working toward disarmament or raising the alerts on nuclear weapon systems? Here you can see the top three parameters that I used for modeling nuclear risk. Geopolitical tension, some work by R. Polly in assessing the landscape of declassified Pentagon war games over the last 7 years has shown that the only two times a weapon was used, even in a war game scenario, was when the team was under significant stress, a very tight timeline, and a strong likelihood of being overrun. Symmetry of strength is that crucial designator to decide if the system is going to stay in balance. That deterrence only works when there's balance, and when there's imbalance, that gridlock and the stability of the system can fade away. And then finally, domestic politics, perhaps counterintuitively, Professor Gomans of the University of Rochester, a German immigrant, said that he's a war termination expert, explained how dictators, specifically very tyrannical dictators, actually cause sort of less of a threat to using nuclear weapons because of their ability to go back to their country and silence any critics, so they don't get back to no corner as easy. So really, we're trying to get to the data to understand, which situations give us more variance in as far as risk, and I'm going to present that to you by showing you a little glimpse of the simulation. So if you can just look here, we have these orbs represent the two different countries in a conflict. And what we have here is the conventional threat level set to 0 and nuclear parity set to 0. We're just going to bring up the parity a little bit. similar to a situation like the United States and the Soviet Union in the Cold War. We'll set this up, and you can see the two orbs start randomly, and we'll hit go. We see the orbs rotating in a orbit around an invisible epicenter. But if you look at this plot, it plots every 50 ticks. There is relatively little variance between the distances. And as we turn it up, there'll be even less. There'll be just a tighter window. But some interesting things happen when you get rid of the parity and introduce other factors. So for instance, we'll turn on the dictator switch. This is going to actually, if you didn't see that, it shrinks the size of the orbs, simulating a lower risk because they're taking up less area in the cellular autonomous space. As we turn up the conventional threat level, here we'll turn the conventional dictator switch back off, and you see them getting closer. This you can see the red orb is operating on a repulsion mechanism, so it's acting erratic, adding an element of uncertainty into the system, and we can bring down the parity. So this is when one country is stronger than the other, and you can see we start to see the pattern change and the orbits break, and the variance will greatly increase, introducing more risk into the system. So you can see as these things come close, if they touch, there'll be an alert in the collision message area, this monitor here. Let's see if we can just get it to turn up the threat level. You can see these things coming closer, and now you see a fire alert. So that's what my research is focused on, and I thank you for your time today. Have a great one.